Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me once again. Before I get into this, I want to uh, show my appreciation for each and every one of you who take the time to listen to my videos, to watch my videos. Uh, at this moment, I'm not monetized. I do these things because I enjoy doing it. I think I have something to say. I'm a reader, I'm a studier, and I like to give my opinions on certain events, political, spiritual, whatever. So I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to listen to my videos and even my subscribers. Thank God for each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you. I don't think I would, if I didn't have anybody to listen, that was wanted to bother to listen to anything I had to say, it would probably be no purpose behind this. But I want to say thank you for each and every one of you. But this particular topic, as the title of this video suggests, was hard for me because I debated in my mind as to whether or not I wanted to talk about this because it seems to cause so much division. It's like, man, the old saying, pick your battles. You got to pick your battles wisely. And it shouldn't be a battle. It shouldn't be a battle, But at the same time, I said, well, you know what? It has to be talked about. It has to be talked about because it was weighing on me such that I was like, man, I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it because the narrative that is being spun by the left, the liberal establishment, when it comes to Black history, is always, and this is not my opinion, this is a fact, and we all know this if we're being honest. The narrative being spun by the left, particularly the political left and the educational left, particularly in the schools, is that when it comes to Black history and when it comes to Black people in this country, is that Blacks, we were so oppressed and our ancestors were slaves and we were so oppressed and, and KKK was going around causing problems. I'm not going to say the L word, but you know what it was, causing problems for Blacks and, segregation and this and that. And the perspective from the left is that we as Black people or our ancestors or those who were post civil rights and pre-civil rights were oppressed. And my God, we just so oppressed and we just downtrodden. And even now, the narrative is we are oppressed. We're victims of systemic racism. That is not my opinion. That's a fact. Anybody that listens to the left, that is the narrative that is spun all the time. And that is the narrative that's taking place with the left now when it comes to Black history. So I wanted to just talk a little bit on that. Okay, the subject of Black history. Now, what is it all about? And I surmise that Black history was initially created, in essence, to recognize not just the history of Black people here in America from slavery all the way to now, because that's what's always talked about, right? For the most part, what is always talked about, particularly from the left, and even people on the right talk about this too. People on the right talk about this as well. And I don't think they get the bigger picture. Is this idea that our history was, our ancestors were slaves, we came up through slavery, and our ancestors were oppressed, and we are oppressed, and we made it, and we successful. We're now successful. Okay, that's cool. I get it. But what seems to be focused on more than anything is the suffering of Blacks. Oh, we are oppressed. Oh, no one loves us. No one likes us. We need to be liked. We need that. We need to be loved and liked by other people that are like. We need that. And I take offense to that because I don't think, as individuals made in the image of God, that we need someone else to love or like us. I think that that's just a weakness that I think is really hurting the Black community as a whole in America. Now, Black history, from my understanding, as I said, is to essentially celebrate, not only look at rather the history of Blacks from slavery until now, okay, but to celebrate their accomplishments. It's supposed to be to celebrate, in my opinion, the accomplishments of Blacks as they came through from slavery and Jim Crow laws and the KKK and discrimination and all these type of things, and how Blacks persevered during these times of true overt racism, how they persevered and kept pressing in spite of. I mean, it's interesting how you mention this to black people and people in general, and they look at you like a deer caught on a headlight. They still don't understand what you're trying to say. But anyway, so as the title of this video is, when it talks about this whole idea of it being Black History Month, why not just rename it? If we're going to continue to keep it, rename it Black Accomplishment Month. We're not talking about the accomplishment of black people like we should be, in my opinion. And when I say accomplishment, I'm not talking about just entertainers and so forth. Nothing wrong with entertainers, but I'm talking about people who use their intellectual processes and so forth and became popular. Now, I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to be biased. Most of the people that I'm going to mention, if not all of them actually, are conservative. They have a conservative worldview. And the reason why I'm being biased here is because these individuals are not mentioned when it comes to black history and overcoming adversity. These individuals aren't mentioned that much in the mainstream narrative when it comes to talking about black history and black accomplishments. They never hardly mention these individuals. What the left tends to mention is black people who constantly push the narrative and constantly push the idea that blacks are oppressed and victims of systemic racism, and that the only way that they're going to be successful is if the government, the almighty government, comes in and helps them. That's the narrative that's being spun all the time. That is a dangerous narrative. It's a destructive narrative, and it's not helpful. People who actually went through this type of stuff, through this type of discrimination and real hate and in-your-face hatred, and persevered anyway, their names are not being mentioned. It is almost like that's on purpose. And in fact, in my opinion, I think it is on purpose. Because if you have all black people thinking alike in terms of saying, hey, I'm not a victim of systemic racism, I'm not a victim of my circumstances, there are opportunities out here for me to be whatever I want to be. I'm going to press forward and do what I need to do in order to be successful. If you had every black person in America thinking like that, then for one, they probably wouldn't be voting Democrat. I can tell you that, more than likely. But two, that would mess up the whole communist concept of conquer and divide and keep everybody divided against each other. That would mess up the whole Marxist concept, the whole Marxist plan. It would just mess it up, turn it over on its head. Because black people are collectively all thinking the same way in terms of, hey, whatever I want to be, I can be. This is still the land of opportunity. If I want to be a singer, I can be a singer. If I want to be a football player, I can be a football player. If I want to be a doctor, I can be a doctor. If I want to be a lawyer, I can be a lawyer. If I want to be the president of the freaking United States, I can be the president of the United States. Obama, come on now. 2 terms. Let's quit it now. Let's quit playing games. Let's be real and stop playing games. Come on now, boo-boo. Okay. I can be whatever I want. If you have every black person within the range of being an adult, per se, thinking that way, that would be a problem. So I feel compelled to mention these individuals because they're not mentioned. And you probably know who I'm going to mention. He's right behind me. Okay. But I think, once again, it should be, if we're going to continue with the Black History Month thing, that it should be Black Accomplishment. Why not call it Black Achievement Month? Black Achievement Month rather than Black History Month, because Black History Month has a negative connotation to it, in my opinion. When you say Black History Month, all I'm seeing is people walking around with their fists hanging up and doing things, black people doing things that are unsavory and embarrassing. It's like, that's not black history. That's what you're doing is you're demonstrating your character. You're not demonstrating black history in any way, subtle or overt. You're not doing so. I would prefer that we rename it Black Achievement Month or Black Accomplishment Month. Now, having said that, I just want to mention Thomas Sowell here, okay? And I've heard of quite a few people that admire Thomas Sowell. I just want to speak a minute or so briefly about him. Most of you who have some of his books or have read up on him, you know who he is. He is an accomplished economist. I think he works for the Hoover Institute right now, which is a conservative think tank. He's a fellow there. I think he's in his 90s now. Man is in his 90s. I have quite a few of his books. I think I have like 14 of his books, 14, close to 20. No, not 14, close to 20 of his books. He's written over 40 of them, but I think I got close to like 20 of them. And yeah, Thomas Sowell is worth mentioning because not only did he earned his PhD, his doctorate in economics, but he did so in the face of systemic real systemic racism, not this imagined stuff today, but real systemic racism. He really accomplished great things in the face of real systemic racism. He came up in a family, or his past rather, was not the most savory past there was. I mean, he wasn't raised rich like the left would try to make it. He wasn't raised rich. He was not. The man was poor. He came up through the ranks, but the brother really came up through the ranks. I'm just giving you a summary of it, okay? He really had to deal with a lot of ups and downs in his life. But what's the point? The point is that he achieved his doctorate in economics in the face of all kinds of opposition, disappointments, and setbacks. This is not the narrative that is being spun by the left today. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is with the left, I'm not trying to be divisive. What I'm trying to do is show you that the left they have more of the power and the influence when it comes to the mainstream media and the school systems. Most of everything is liberal bias, is liberal based. They have the stronghold. So that's why I'm trying to make this distinction between the two, because if they have the stronghold, the left has a stronghold and they're spinning in that negative narrative among our people, then most of the people are going to think the way the left is telling them to think, because the left has control of the schools. Most of the professors are liberal. Most of the TV shows are liberal bias. You know what I mean? Most of the institutions are liberal. Movies are liberal. I mean, everything is liberal bias, and it shows that narrative of black victimization. And what I'm trying to do is show that, hey, man, you can, even though you're dealing with all this opposition and all this problems and so forth, you can be whatever you set your mind to be. Thomas Sowell is a classic example of it. He's just one of many. A classic example of someone who had to go through the hurdles of systemic racism, opposition, poverty, and other things to get to where he got. But the point is, he accomplished it. No one stopped him, like the left keep trying to tell people today. White people is holding you back and you'll never be accomplished. Like people like Al Sharpton was saying literally saying in a church years ago during the George Floyd thing. This man said this very thing. I think he was in the church, said this very thing. We could never be successful because you kept your knee on our neck. And everybody in the church shouting and jumping. And I'm saying, what kind of nonsense is that? Here's a man who's a multimillionaire in your church telling you, he includes himself in it, but he's really telling you that you can't be successful because white people have kept their knee on your neck. Nice little metaphor, sir, getting everybody to shout, but it is a big, fat, demonic lie. And he ought to be ashamed and repent. He ought to be ashamed and repent, but I ain't going to go there. I ain't going to go there because I'm starting to get upset with him, as with a lot of these other race hustlers. You have stuff like that being pushed in the minds of the people. Okay, so that changes the trajectory. But here you have a man who persevered through all of that, through all kinds of opposition, and regardless of this idea that someone had their knee on his neck. I mean, Thomas Sowell, in a sense, did have someone's white people's knee on his neck in many instances. He did have someone's knee on his neck, but he didn't let someone's knee on his neck, metaphorically speaking, stop him from accomplishing what he wanted to accomplish. What's our excuse today? What is black people's excuse today? Nothing more than a mind-controlled phantom that the liberal establishment has created for them to keep them on their plantation. That's all that is. Thomas Sowell, bro. Thomas Sowell, sister. Look him up. Buy his book. Oh, by the way, this book here is it's not written by him. It's written by another conservative by the name of Jason L. Riley. So this is a biography of Thomas Sowell, but it is excellent. I only wanted to show this because I wanted to show a picture of the guy. Okay. The other person of worth, and I wish I had a picture of her that I wanted to mention. Her name is Carol Swain, I believe. Carol Swain or Swain Swan. And some of you may know her. She's an older lady. I think she's like in her 80s right now. And I think she got her doctorate in political science and some other things. The woman is brilliant. Brilliant woman. Brilliant woman. Brilliant woman. But she came up poor, dealt with systemic racism and all of that. But yet she got her PhD. How was she able to do that? Did white people give it to her? Huh? I mean, did they say, we're going to elevate her, we're going to push everybody else down? Really? No, she worked for it. And if you look her up, she had every reason to say, I didn't want to do this. She faced all kinds of opposition, poverty, all of that. And yet she persevered in the midst of opposition and became something. She accomplished something. She got her PhD. And last but not least, I know this is going to crack some of you people up, myself. I know y'all like, what? Man, what? Yeah. I thank God that he blessed me to accomplish some of the things that I accomplished. But I want to just mention, I don't have a PhD. I don't. But I don't think that that's the criteria of accomplishment. That's just one form of accomplishment. You can accomplish great things without having a PhD. But I just want to give one particular accomplishment that I think really stood out. And I'm thankful to God that he enabled me to do this. And I persevered through it. When I was going through school, going to schools, the name of the school is Bryan and Stratton, which is a small privately owned college. It was back in like 2000. I went in 2009. I graduated I went in 2008 and graduated in 2010, an associate's degree in business. And during the course of my stay there, you had to accumulate a list of accomplishments in your class, essentially, in all your classes. At the end of the rope, if you will, not the rope. God, the rope. God forgive me. Oh, God said rope. You said rope. Oh my God. Calm down. At the end of your tenure there, the end of my tenure there, when it was time to graduate, it was at the end. Everyone that was on the list, what we had to do was we had to come up with a portfolio. We had to create a portfolio. And in that portfolio, you had a list of all your classes and all the accomplishments in your classes. And what we had to do, we was all out in this like lobby area, and there was these two rooms. And in those two rooms, you had 2 or 3 professors. Okay, many of them had master's degrees. And they would be sitting at the table, and what you had to do, one by one, you had to go inside, and you had to explain your portfolio to them. Okay, you had to explain what you learned in each class, articulate that, explain it to them, and then they would give you a grade on it. Okay, as you explained your portfolio, they would give you a grade, and the highest is 200 on all different levels. On all different levels, the highest is 200. Yeah, and I tried to find that actual list, but anyway, we had to give this presentation to these professors who were sitting in these rooms, and they said they're grading us, and the highest level was 200. Now you had like 5 categories, and I can't remember all the categories. I think one was articulating what you learned. I forget all the different names of the categories. I really do. I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. But it's real. It's not made up. The highest you could get was 200 in all the categories. Now, I'm not bragging. To God be the glory. But then also, I put forth the effort. No one was stopping me. But here's my point. I was the only one out of all of those people that were out there. I was the only one that made a perfect 200 in all the categories. It was so impressive to some of the people, some of the professors, that one of the other professors, not going to say his name, came to me and asked me to sit on the board with these master degree professors sitting up here articulating everybody else's portfolio. He asked me to actually sit on the board because my presentation was so impressive. The fact that I got 200 across all, that he wanted me to sit on the board with them. And I said, unfortunately, I have to kindly decline because I have to go to class, sir. But there was no problem because he asked me to. It didn't make no difference anyway because I was one of the ones, and I'm gonna put this little secret out here that I ended up becoming part of their fraternity. But I'm not gonna name the fraternity. I'm not active anymore. But at any rate, yeah. Let's put it to you like this: it wasn't a satanic fraternity like the Illuminati or nothing like that. It was a college fraternity. But at any rate, what's my point? My point is not bragging. My point is that I could have made up all kinds of excuses because because during the time that I was in that school, I failed some classes. Some of them I had to take over. And I could have made the excuse like so many black people do today when they fail or mess up or make a mistake and white people are over it. Oh, you hate me. You just did that. You gave me an F because you racist against me. A lot of that dumb stuff that's being spun by the liberal establishment, I could have had that excuse, but I didn't. I didn't make up an excuse. Even if that was the case, I picked myself up and say, you know what? I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I did what I did. And I passed magna cum laude. I graduated magna cum laude. Okay? That's where I graduated in. And I walked across that stage proud, not making up any excuses. And my point in sharing these accomplishments with you guys is that, hey, man, you can be whatever you put your mind to be, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Hispanic. This is the land of opportunity. It's still, at this point, the land of opportunity. And I get sick and tired of the left lying and saying it is not. And I wasn't raised in and let me say this and start summing this up. I was not raised in the best of families. My father died when I was 16. And he didn't live with me. And I ain't going to give you that. That's about as much as I'm going to say. So I didn't have all these influences that people think I would have had in order for me. I didn't have all of those things. A lot of this stuff is just a made up mind. It's what you as an individual want to do. You want to educate yourself. You want to inform yourself. You have to be the one to do it. No one else can do it. Mom and dad can be an influence. But at the end of the day, if mom and dad is not an influence, it's still up to that individual once they reach the age of accountability to do what they need to do in order to be successful in life. Because all of the platforms and all of the avenues out there are out there for them to gain. When a person chooses, and I've always felt this, when a person chooses to be ignorant, that is their fault. Because that person don't have to be ignorant. But when they choose to be ignorant, something that I hate with a passion. When people willfully are ignorant, choose to be willfully ignorant, when they choose to be ignorant, they suffer the consequences thereof, and they deserve to do so because they're choosing to be ignorant. And I could have chose to be ignorant and crying boo-hoo like everybody else, like some other people in the school was doing, trying to making up all kinds of excuses. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I think that they should change it to rather than Black History Month because of what that really personifies, particularly from the left. They should change it to Black Accomplishment Month or Black Achievement Month and show the achievements of blacks in this country, which will actually, and I'm talking about real achievement, which will actually encourage other black people, and not just black people, but all kinds of people that may be disenfranchised or feel like they're never going to accomplish anything. The purpose would be to motivate first black people and then all people that live in this country to be whatever you put your mind out to be. And that's all I wanted to say about that. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.